So I mean, what is the main difference between like Lasix and Demadex, which are, for people who don't know, those are the two main loop diuretics?
They used to both be made in injectable and oral. Lasix is still made in injectable. You said Demadex is discontinued in injectable. The injectable used to be a reconstitute with powder and water. You add the water to the powder, and it would be for like people that suffered from pulmonary edema really bad, and they needed to get like, 10, 15 pounds of fluid away from out of their body around their heart. And you would take this, they would add it to the IV, and it would get rid of the water around the heart. So that was one. Now injectable Lasix is used for that in the hospitals for those reasons. In bodybuilding, the oral Lasix has a bad rap because it's a loop diuretic. And Demadex, people are taking it and they don't even realize it's in the exact same class as Lasix, except it's longer lasting. And the oral Demadex, the problem with it is that, if you have food in your stomach, it's going to delay the reaction. And if the reaction, because the loop diuretic is like flushing a toilet, so it's got to like that. So if you delay that, it's kind of like, when your toilet's got a little leak and it kind of fills the tank up and a little bit goes down, like that. So that's why I like the injectable Lasix better, because it's guaranteed when you take it, it's going to work in a certain amount of time. And that's that. But Demadex is very popular to dry people out. And when you see people losing like that amount of weight, usually you don't hear about coaches giving bodybuilders injectable Lasix. I'm probably one of the few bodybuilding coaches that would even think about using it on someone, but that's because I'm not scared of all the bullshit stories that people say about it. It's a superior drug, just like any other injectable is to an oral. It's superior. And if you understand that and you're not ignorant to a bunch of bullshit stories about why so-and-so may have died and it's not true, then, that's your priority. You take the oral Demadex, you will get really, really dry. But a lot of people will get them flat because they should take potassium with it also. With bodybuilding, the reason that it tends to work good, take it the night before the show, they drop the water, and then later on when it blocks the sodium, that's when they're eating the shittier food to fill out, when it drops that last bit. So it kind of works. You have to know how to eat with it. That's the big key. For me at night, and I check this every night, every day, every night, every time I urinate, every time I have bowel movement, I strip down and check my weight. So I can tell when I have food inside, and I know how much I weigh without anything. And overnight, I have one urination and sometime either between 4 and 6 a.m. And then if I sleep past 6 a.m. or shortly thereafter, there'll be another urination and usually a bowel movement when I wake up. Okay. The combination of that is 3.6 pounds on average. So without any diuretics, I wake up very, very flat. And I think the reality is I don't need the diuretics, but the extreme measures of potassium loading that I do, the look that it gives me by pulling the water in the cell, it's the diuretics, like I said, just get rid of the potassium, but the potassium loading, man, that's the thing right there. Because when you do that, you got that full dry look that it's just so hard to time it with diuretics without it. And again, if you use that much potassium, then you can use that much Lasix. Do you need to use as much of both? Well, it depends on how much sub-Q water you have. Every time you do it, you're going to get rid of some. So you do 2, 3, spaced out between the night before, whenever you stop drinking the water or cut back on the sodium. Every 6 to 8 hours, you do some Lasix, but you've also got potassium loaded in you already, and potassium while you're doing it too. So, you lower the potassium with the Lasix, and, let's say normal is here, so you're still way loaded. Before the Lasix, you were up here, dangerous. Take the Lasix, you're still potassium loaded. Add more potassium, take the Lasix, add more potassium, and every time you do it, you're getting more and more sub-Q water out. And so you do that, and you keep, ultimately it's, as it pulls up water, it's, swelling a little bit too. And then it gets to a point where you're dry. You're as dry and you're almost flat. You're dry and that's when you're like, that's the sodium time. And if you don't have gas from cheese and shit like that, pizza, the night before, because your stomach is going to get distended from eating pizza, period. You have to get that done the night before. So you wake up in the morning, the day of the show, you should have a good bowel movement. That's the goal. And it's hard when you take the diuretics to have a bowel movement. So it may be for some people, and I'm one of them, that I have to push everything off to the very end. So I've already had the bowel movement, because once I initiate with the diuretics, because there's already so much potassium in me, my colon and intestines get dry, and it's hard for the things to keep moving down. It's happened to me in the past, so I know. And I feel as if I would have just had that bowel movement, I would have been, so much better. The stomach would have been so much flatter. And when you have a really small hips, I have small hips because I'm a little guy. So I have small hips, and the muscles looks nice on it. The small bones, the small joints look nice. But also, just a little bit of distension in the waist fucks the whole thing up.